My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey folks, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of land squatting? I haven't, but today's guest knows all about it. Logan Freeman is also known as the KC CRE guy. So zooming in from Kansas City, Missouri, not to be confused with the other Kansas City, which I think is in Kansas. We've got Logan Freeman. He is a commercial real estate guy. He's a broker and an investor. So welcome back to the show, Logan. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you, and just very excited to be here, Dave. Been following you for quite some time, listened to a number of episodes. Lots of my friends been on, always adding value on the show. So thanks and keep it up.
Thank you very much. So Logan, give us a little snapshot. You know, we're in past the middle of 2025 at this point. What are the different real estate businesses that you're involved in? What do they look like? How do they integrate? So you're an investor, you're a broker. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, well, it all starts with understanding the different pockets that I focus on in Kansas City. And how do I do that? Well, it's being active in a broker's capacity. And I would say that opens up doors because I work with some of the largest, best, smartest developers around the city, right? And so I'm kind of getting a snapshot into what they're seeing and what they're focused on. And I think that's really important from an investor standpoint because, I've been doing this for around 9 years now, and every single year has looked quite different. But I had somebody tell me today, Logan, what you're really, really good at, right? We're always looking for, I think Dan Sullivan calls it your unique genius, or what's that sweet spot, the intersection.
Your unfair advantage, as Kiyosaki calls it as well.
Unfair advantage, right? Yeah. Like, what is that? And for me, it's always been, I've always had a work ethic that's kind of second to none, but also I'm able to really see opportunities and connect one piece of information or an idea to another one, right? And it's because I'm interacting with so many different folks on a regular basis. Dave, I am up to around 670 meaningful conversations this year. That means on average, I'm having around 100 meaningful conversations a month. Wow. That means that I'm talking to an investor, I'm talking to a property owner, a vendor, somebody that can help move a deal forward or fix a problem. And I track that on a regular basis.
I was going to ask you, how the hell do you track meaningful conversations? Most people don't even really know what a meaningful conversation is. So you've got it pretty pinpointed.
Absolutely. Have to define it so we understand what it is, right? So and it can be different things for every person, but I lead a team of 5 commercial real estate brokers, and I have to understand what's moving the needle in my business, right? And so I've defined that if I speak to somebody who owns real estate or is buying and actively has already purchased real estate, that is a crucial, critical factor. Early in my career, I would take every meeting, and my calendar was very full, and I was very, very busy, but I wasn't very productive, right? And now it's very difficult to find time with Logan Freeman because I'm very protective of that time. And so I need to be working on one of 3 things: developing a new relationship that can lead to a brokerage or an investment opportunity, nurturing a relationship, so following up with a client that I've already proposed something to. And the third part would be, am I doing something that no one else can do? And for me, that is blending AI into commercial real estate fundamentals and being able to turn around market proposals or analysis, proposals for leasing, for sales, property for performance audits, right? All of these things that used to take 2, 3, 4 weeks, I'm turning them around to clients the same day.
Wow.
And there's a way to do that, and it's winning business, right? Because you and other people always talk about speed is one way to win, but you want to be quick, but you don't want to hurry. Well, now I can.
You want to be quick and accurate. That's
That's
the
right.
key, right? Yeah.
But now I can fact check everything in a matter of seconds that used to take me time to go find, right? And so the core competency is helping people dispose of or find their new acquisitions. But we kind of layer in, hey, we might work with a landowner, and that landowner may think their value is X.
Mm.
Well, the developer is going to look at that undeveloped land and they're going to put a value of Y. And now we have a gap. So how do we fulfill that gap? We may work with the landowner to contribute the land into a development project, and then we will come in and do the risk, in regards to the entitlements because we have the expertise around that.
Yeah.
Now we get it reappraised, and I just did this on a piece of land that was purchased or valued at $600,000. And then it was reappraised after the entitlements were done for $850,000. Now
Makes
we have a
sense.
delta. Now we've created value. So you can either sell that or you can contribute it to a project. And we're able to do creative deal structures like that because I've been an investor for 9 years. And I'm not just looking for the one-off transaction fee. I'm seeing, well, if that development gets developed, then I might have a chance to lease it up. And then once it's stabilized, I may have a chance to purchase it. So I'm thinking 3, 5, 10 years down the road, that client that I helped get that piece of land, I might be able to actually help them later down the road because I'm going to be doing this for a long time. There's probably a lot of people aren't watching this, but I am a somewhat young person. I'm 35 years old. So
A lot younger than some of the rest of us, Logan. That's
yeah,
for sure.
well, I'm going to be hopefully doing this for another 30 years plus,
Yeah.
right? And so I need to be thinking that way. So brokerage, creative deal structures, and then always looking for an investment opportunity. What I have found in the last 2 years, it's been very difficult to purchase existing assets for the basis that I got used to doing in 2017 and 18 and 19 and 20, right? It's very difficult for me to evaluate that. And so I have been doing more of the creative deal structures as well as thinking about getting into ground up development. And so that's
Right.
where the land squatting idea and
Okay, so let's talk about that. What is land squatting?
stole this idea from Neil Bawa. He is the master land squatter. Okay.
Okay,
So
well, geez, I interviewed Neil not that long ago. I don't remember us talking. This is the first time I heard about it. So
yeah, so
you
Neil
can
will
tell
go
me.
in. He will go into an area and he uses his data to figure out what land is in the path of progress. I use a little bit less data necessarily because it's in my backyard. I know where the rooftops are going, so I know where commerce is flowing. And so I'm going to go try to find land that can be developed. And I do it a little different. He does it for multifamily. I do it mostly on the flex industrial side, right? So
Okay.
I'm looking for very specific industrial park land that is raw, that I can go through an entitlement process. I'm working with those industry professionals that are leasing that space up, or I have my own tenants that I might be bringing in tow because they're telling me I need 16,000 square feet, I need 20,000 square feet, I need 14-foot
Right.
doors, I need whatever it is. And so I might go in and then I might take a piece of raw land, get it optioned, right? Get an option on that land. Okay. I need an option. I'm going to tie it up. I'm now in control of that. And I'm not going to close until my preliminary plat is approved from the city. And that's going to take some time. So I then go work with the finance and economic development councils, the planning and zoning commissions, and I get that land either rezoned and change the use, and I get my site plan approved. And now I can go to the developer, the end user who wants to do a build to suit and take that construction risk and say, here's a fully developed lot for you to take on. And by the way, I have the tenant for you to build on.
Nice.
And here's how I'm going to structure that deal. So that's a simplified version of it, but that would be what I have adapted Neil's multifamily land squatting to more of the flex industrial side. And we've got a number of those projects going around the city right now.
Hey there, if you're a capital raiser, a syndicator, or a fund manager, and you're looking for a steady flow of incoming accredited investor leads, then go ahead, grab a free copy of my new book, How to Get 20 Accredited Investor Meetings Every Month Without Cold Calling, Networking, or Chasing People. You can get that at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Again, that's the number 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Okay, so basically, I guess the difference with that versus a traditional option on a property is number one, you're optioning it, which lots of people do that. But the second stage is you're actually getting it rezoned or getting that first step in the development process taken care of. And then you're not closing on it yourself. You're basically selling the option to the end developer. Did I get the
Sometimes we
gist
have
of
to
it?
close on the land as well, right?
Pardon
So
me?
sometimes we have to close on the land as well. So timing may not be correct, that
Okay.
we must actually go in and close on the land and take that risk.
But
But
in a perfect scenario, you're not. And
that's
you've lined
exactly
up the
right.
buyer, you've got the seller, you've got the approvals, you've got the buyer, you've even got the tenant for the buyer. If everything works according to plan, you're kind of not you're triple dipping in that situation.
That's exactly right.
All
And
right.
a lot of people are doing this on the single family home subdivision side as well, right?
Yeah.
So, trying to get lots for paper lots for developers like or builders like DR Horton or Lennar or some of those groups that are out building homes. And so they'll go grab 10, 20, 50 acres and they'll go through the entitlement process and they'll work on getting the paper lots and maybe they'll do the horizontal infrastructure, but a lot of times they're just getting the lots papered and then they're going to those developers to say, hey, here's the land, here's the subdivision, here's the entitlements. You guys can close on this and now start on the horizontal construction. And what I have found in that is really interesting because a lot of folks that are builders don't want to take the horizontal risk in the land. And
Mm.
especially if they're a national builder, because land does not make their profit earners or their
There's no
shareholders, sorry,
castle.
their shareholders, they don't make them any money, right?
Right.
And so
Exactly.
they'll work with other groups to take that risk. Then they'll pay a premium for the lot. So there's many different ways to kind of get involved in that process.
So Logan, you touched on something interesting that you guys are doing, which is really embracing AI
Yes.
to I guess more on the brokerage side of things. So maybe unwrap that a little bit because you went through it pretty fast. So how do you utilize AI in ways that most other commercial real estate brokerages aren't these days?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think that it helps with monotonous tasks that you can do and find. But where I think it's really interesting is I had a property owner give me a call and said, hey, I owned three different sets of properties across three different geographic locations. Here's when the debt comes up. Here's the rent rolls. Here's the financials. I need you to help me understand which ones I should hold. Should I
Mm.
refinance or should I sell? Right. So I took all that information. I uploaded my own data. That's the most important component that I think people, investors, brokers are not doing. The proprietary data that you have over the last 9, 10 years. If you have that stored somewhere, you can start unlocking insights out of that data. So I take that data, I take the information that's given to me, and then I give it a framework. Hey, you are an
Mhm.
expert portfolio analysis, team. I need you to review all three of these sets of properties. Give me the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats and the risks. And then we want to do what's called a portfolio performance audit. And I have another document that explains exactly what that is. So I load that up,
Which you give it to the AI. Yeah.
give it
Yeah.
to AI. So now it has a framework to then give me the output that I'm looking for. What would have taken me probably a full day previously now can
Mhm.
take me about 30 minutes. Okay, so it spits out a very analog output, right? All of the data, the recommendations. I tell it to ask me some additional questions. We refine that. I review it. I spot check it to make sure it's correct. I like the output. Okay, now what do you do? Well, I take that output and then I go over to a different AI service called Gamma. And then I take the data, the numbers, the narrative that's just like this big word salad from ChatGPT or Perplexity or GenSpark, and then I move it to Gamma. And then
Mhm.
Gamma is trained on my branding, my colors, my fonts. And so I upload it. It uses AI to refine it, summarize it, and find the images that it wants to use. And then I have a beautiful presentation, a full 12-page portfolio analysis that took me about 35 minutes, which I then sent to the client. He said, well, looks like we should have lunch. So we had lunch, we went through it together, and now we're meeting with another property owner who wants to purchase some of those real estate assets that also has stuff that he wants to trade into. Now, tell me, in a 2-week period how you could generate a $7.5 million deal and do an analysis like that, and then make a call and then connect individuals to actually make a deal. That is where commercial real estate investing and brokerage is going. And yes, I have a decent amount of experience across a lot of asset classes. So you can't just, there's a lot of knowledge that I give AI that it's still utilized.
Well, I think what people might gloss over is the spot check component of things, because AI is amazing, but it does screw up on a regular basis. Or at least that's been my experience with it.
100% it does.
So yeah, you have to not even trust, but definitely verify for sure.
Yeah.
Now, the framework that you're giving it is very, very structured. So I'm sure there's a lot less errors there, but
yeah. Robin Dreek, he's an FBI agent, ex-FBI agent, maybe a CIA, I can't remember, wrote an incredible book. And in that book, he spoke some Russian because he had to know Russian. And it was always, his favorite line was, "Doverye, non-poverye." And I'm probably butchering that, but it says, "Trust but verify."
yeah.
And so I have a new tool that I very much love because it knows numbers a lot better than ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a large language model. This new tool is called GenSpark. It has a functionality in it that actually utilizes AI that is trained specifically on spreadsheets. And so now I have the ability to have an AI agent that is trained on 9 or 10 of those large language models, and it has the number component baked into it. And then it allows me, after the output comes out, to say, fact check every single line. And so it actually fact checks itself and says, hey, these might be some inconsistencies. And so then I'll look at those before I send anything off to, our clients or our investors. But at the end of the day, I think it's fascinating to be able to have, and I think about it like my brain on steroids, right? Like I could do all that analysis, I could do all those calculations, but I send it 15 different documents and it reads every single line and it finds something that I didn't. Another example is we do a lot of leasing. And so we need to abstract leases. Well, you send me a 25-page lease, it used to take us hours to abstract that lease. Well, now I can upload it into a very trained GPT on ChatGPT that allows me to abstract a lease in less than 10 seconds. And there's value to that as well.
Oh, that's huge.
There's just a couple use cases, but I could go on and on for days, Dave, about how we're utilizing this. And I think the biggest takeaway is that you can get speed back to your clients in a totally different world now than you were previously. And if you're not going to adopt that, then you probably will be left behind.
Oh, you definitely will be left behind. That's for sure. And it sounds like you're adopting it like crazy there, Logan. Well, that is fascinating. I think folks that are listening to this or watching this can definitely relate. As we're kind of wrapping this up, Logan, for people who aren't familiar with the Kansas City, Missouri market, obviously you're a big fan. You're living and working there. Tell us what the big pros and cons are of that market and why it's popular with your commercial clients.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a couple things fundamentally. One would be that it's an affordable market, right? And so the affordability is a very attractive thing for a lot of people. We have a great breakdown of different industry in Kansas City. And it's really the fundamentals of what keeps America moving, right? Manufacturing, logistics. We have more rail Chicago is the only other Midwestern city that has more rail yards per tonnage than Kansas City. Additionally, there's a lot of Google Fiber driving some technology.
Interesting.
And here's a cool one is we have land. And, the hyperscalers like Meta and Google and OpenAI, and they are coming here in droves to build data centers. And data centers are coming, which is driving even more technology, which I think is really interesting. The last part I would just say is that, look, if you look at the best places to live, Overland Park, Lee Summit, Olathe are typically on those lists. And that's nationally, right? So that's across state lines. We have multiple different markets that are looking at those different markers to say, is this a nice place to live? Good school systems, crime, affordability, access to jobs, those things. But you can reach 80% of the continental United States from Kansas City in a truck in 2 days. And so from a logistics hub. We are on a corridor here where you can get anywhere in Kansas City, from Kansas City in 2 days, basically in the continental U.S. So that's really interesting. I think that's driven a lot of jobs that are coming to the market. We're never going to have this huge appreciation, but I will say that Kansas City year-over-year rent growth has been in the multifamily side has been top 5 for the last 2 years. So we have a supply constrained market here in Kansas City. Population growth is driving more and more apartments as well as jobs, and I think we're on a good track here for the next 10 to 15 years. So we're excited about Kansas City and the new look that the city is taking in many different areas.
Awesome, Logan. Well, hey, thank you so much for sharing some new stuff with me. I love how you illustrated what land squatting is. Now I've got a good idea of what that's all about. And hats off to you for really taking the whole AI thing and kicking that into gear and using that in very, very practical, creative ways. And for letting us know a little bit about your market. So if people want to connect with you and find out more about you and your services, where should they go, Logan?
LinkedIn has got to be the spot you can go. I'm sure there's other Logan Freemans on LinkedIn, but I'm a top voice on LinkedIn. I post there daily. You'll be able to find me. Please do connect with me there.
And yeah, there's only one, the KC CRE guy. So that's the Logan Freeman that you're looking for on LinkedIn. Right. Logan, thanks for being on the show. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, everybody. Take care. See ya on the next one. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.